Hello, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley here with you. It is about 9 o'clock on our Tuesday evening. And one of the things we've been talking about so much lately in the weather business is all the flooding and all the rain that we've been having. So this is a live update for you. I'm going to be storm tracking with you here over the next 10 to 15 minutes or so and just kind of letting you know what we're seeing. It was obviously a bit of a scary evening, especially around 5, 6, 7 o'clock tonight. That's when the rain really came down in Burlington and Greensboro. The waters rose up in a big way. Since then, it's lessened a little bit in those Triad areas, but we still have some rain and storms on the radar and even a couple of new warnings to pass along to you. So glad you're here with us. This is going to be about 10 to 15 minutes on WFMY Plus. So let's get right to it. As we talk about our forecast now, this is kind of where we're seeing on the radar at the moment. I've got this on a 3-hour loop right now. So as you look at this, notice that it's a movie showing you the motion of the storms. And you should pick up on a couple of things. Number one, there's been a lot of storms today. Number two, the motion of the showers and storms is pretty random, isn't it? If I just asked you in one word, what direction are the storms moving? Probably not an easy question to answer. Just today we see some kind of moving this direction, others like that, others like this, others backwards. So there's really a haphazard motion to the showers and storms today. So keep that in mind. There's not a lot of strong flow or a lot of strong, there's not really a lot of wind to push these along. And so what we're seeing is that most of them have fairly random motion. And that makes them more difficult to track and more difficult to project. As once they do form, where are they going next? That's a little bit more difficult to tell you than normal. So let's show who is getting in better shape now. So we're looking at Alamance County. This was a mess. Earlier today, this was a mess. In fact, I want to highlight just how much of a mess that it was. This all started, gosh, it must have been about 6 hours ago now. So if we go back in time, this is about 3 o'clock. So this is when the showers and storms started in Alamance County earlier today. Watch the progression. So we go from 3 o'clock, northern part of the county, just so much rain. Meanwhile, look at this. These are the areas. I'll show you some pictures in a second. But this part of Guilford County just got so much rainfall too. So that's 4 o'clock. Here's 5. Here's 6. You see how slowly these are moving? Hours of crawling motion. Many reports of water rescues in Burlington. Lots of flooding in Burlington. Then it was Guilford County's turn, and thankfully it didn't last quite as long in Greensboro, and it lessened a little bit. But it's still raining here. But we're never going to get flooding from light to moderate rainfall. That's not a problem. It's the heavy, heavy torrential stuff that you really just can't handle. So that's what happened earlier. Are you in the clear in Guilford or in Alamance? Kinda. The flash flood warning's been allowed to expire. That's good news. So you don't have that anymore in Alamance. You don't have it anymore in Greensboro. Where there is still a flash flood warning in Guilford is right about here. And you say, well, why is that box? It's not even raining there. What's really going on? Well, let's keep this in mind. And I'm going to change our map background so we can kind of see this a little bit better. What we see is that that's where Reedy Fork and Reedy Creek are. And those are turned right now into really some impressive creeks and rivers. So in this general area, here's Friendship Church Road. This area right here, if you're familiar with this part of Guilford County, Smiley Wyrick Road, Friendship Church Road. The creek is right about here. You can kind of make it out. If I pop myself off of the view, don't worry, I'll be back. This right here is Reedy Creek and Reedy Fork. Well, this is what that looks like. That road looks like this. That's tonight. So that's why there's a flash flood warning in effect. Because truly, think about it. If you're driving in this area, pitch black dark, no lights on the roads. This is not an urban area. This is a rural area. How are you going to know that water is there? Now, maybe someone's gone by and put up some barricades. They probably have. But what if they didn't? That's kind of the thing to consider right about now. So that's the situation in northeast Guilford County at this time. That's just a chunk of what's been going on right now. If we look elsewhere in the area, Winston-Salem, you've had a pretty easy time of it today. Not all that bad over there. Forsyth County is doing all right. Back to the radar we go, though. Well, sure enough, you've got yourself a flash flood warning earlier. That actually probably isn't materializing all that much. You haven't had much rain today. So I wouldn't worry all that much in Forsyth County. I know there's a warning there, but that's... Where we do need to talk still about the weather is up here. This has all happened within the last hour. Maybe I'll widen out this loop a little bit. So Stokes County, we're in the foothills now. Stokes County, Surrey County, lots of heavy rain. It is coming down. It is raining to beat the band, especially up here, Mount Airy, Westfield, White Plains. Look at all of the rain. Incredibly heavy. And this is what we had earlier in the day in Greensboro and Burlington. And that's what gets you in trouble. What we've seen so often this summer are showers and storms that form and they sit and they don't move. And they sit and they don't move. And it's just still raining. So what are you going to do? Well, you just got to ride it out. There's nothing to get it out of there other than eventually it will run out of water. We have a measure in weather. It's called precipitable water. And that is to say it's a measure of all the air up and down the column of air above your head. How much water is in that air is the question. Well, right now it's about 2 to 3 inches, which means you get into trouble with 2 to 3 inches of water. So that rain is continuing to fall. That's in Surrey County. I would start to worry some about flood problems. So right now, it's a severe thunderstorm warning for Surrey and Stokes counties. It's not a flood warning, but I'd be getting a little worried about that up there because the longer that sits, the more likely you are to start having those problems. So be mindful of that, be cautious, and my best advice for floods is just to stay off the road. If you don't have to be out tonight, don't go out. It's already after 9 o'clock anyway. But I would just say kind of hang tight and stay safe. That's the deal right now in Surrey and Stokes counties. Elsewhere, some gentle rain, not going to hurt you. That's in Davie County. But some new storms are popping up. Farther south we go. Here's Moore County. So think about Robbins, Pinehurst, Southern Pines. You're actually clear. But this is right about from Star to Seagrove. El Dorado, you're clear of it right now. But that's your heavy, heavy rain. And this is an area that's going to continue to grow a little bit. We're going to have to deal with that. So that could be something that'll grow a little bit more. So they're kind of building in all directions. So I would expect that this storm now will be another one to track, especially for parts of Randolph County, Montgomery, and Moore counties. So we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to track for you. And all of these, like I said, they're difficult to kind of project and see how they're moving along. And sure enough, remember how we were just saying, boy, you might want to be concerned about flooding with this storm up there. Well, the National Weather Service agrees. They've just issued now not just a severe thunderstorm warning that we talked about, but they've also issued now a flash flood warning. So what I'm going to do is just illustrate this. So this is your newest flash flood warning. Surrey County, Stokes County, take it seriously. Stay off the roads this evening if you can. Tons of rain. Tons of rain. And a lot of lightning, too. Let's measure how much lightning has been going on. About 100 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes. Pretty impressive. Let's take a 3D slice of the storm, too. I like to do that. Take the alerts off. So if we look at the storm from a volumetric slice, as we could call it. We'll call it a slice, though, a 3D view, if you will. This storm's pretty tall. It's about 30,000 to 40,000 feet tall. What we found a lot in the summertime storms with all the heat and all the humidity is that you're definitely noticing a whole lot of very, very tall clouds. And these tall thunderstorm clouds, they have very rapid motion going up and down. And that's what creates the friction that gives you lightning. Lightning is created out of friction in the clouds between ice particles, and it allows the cloud to obtain a bit of a charge. You say, well, how does that work? Well, the charged particles separate themselves out with the frictional force, and once the cloud obtains a bit of a charge, well, there's also a contrasting charge with the ground or another cloud. So that lightning bolt might go and strike another cloud to relieve the electrical tension, or it might strike the ground, which is what we see so often, of course, on nights like tonight, and we've seen so much of in recent days. Back to some flooding reports from earlier. I'll put this full screen so you don't have to see me as you're looking at this. This is off of Hillcroft Road in Greensboro. So that's pretty close to the urban loop area, not too far from Yanceyville Road, the Yanceyville exit, and Highway 29. Travis McDaniel snapped that for us and sent it in. That's a creek. So that was a creek overflowing. This is urban flooding. So this is flooding that's happening right there in Burlington earlier on. And Kate Bowers sent me this. It didn't last that long. She said it went away fairly quickly. But yeah, pretty impressive to see all that water just rushing down the street. And imagine getting caught in that. And a lot of people did, because it was right around the evening rush hour, which is also not what you'd like to see. More flooding from Burlington. This is Baldwin Road. Baldwin Road was one that was mentioned quite a bit earlier tonight. That's from Jamie Hancock. Again, significant flooding. That was in Burlington earlier tonight. That's all gone down. It's not the case anymore. But as we go through the night tonight, what we're going to find probably is that the creeks and streams start to pop up a little bit more. So Reedy Fork, Reedy Creek, that area of northeast Guilford County is going to be rising out of its banks. It already is. Buffalo Creek in Greensboro. Let me show that to you. So earlier today, by the way, there's reports on the screen. Over half a dozen water rescues earlier tonight. This is video from Buffalo Creek. What I do is I have our system kind of scrub this camera from the river gauge there, and it takes a snapshot about every hour. So this is the baseline earlier, about 6 o'clock this evening before the rain started. And you can kind of see how this changes, right? So if we back that up, this is 7, 7:30, 8:30, and now it's actually gone down again. So you can see the rapid changes. This is urban flash flooding. And that's the way that it works. And it never overflew the stream all that much. So before I let you go, let's take a look at the forecast. So for the rest of the night tonight, we do still have the likelihood and the concern of flooding. Before tomorrow, the flood risk is lower. Well, why is that? There's a lower chance of storms tomorrow. Not quite as much moisture in the air, not quite as much potential for them popping up. So throughout the night tonight, we're going to have this still be an issue through about 1 to 2 a.m. Don't be shocked if you're kept up by thunder lightning now, similar to last night. But for tomorrow, morning's all right. Afternoon, still watching the radar, still could see a couple popping up, but probably not as many as today. And if you get one, hopefully they move a little bit more quickly. And really quickly, just to illustrate why this has been happening, I think a lot of people are asking, and rightly so, why? The jet stream's been really far north, so we don't get any cool, dry air. High pressure's been too far offshore, so we're not capping these storms at all. Instead, we're stuck, and there's been so much humidity out there, we really are stuck. And this pattern's going to continue a little while longer. So the 7-day forecast, still hot and humid for several days, and the threat of pop-up storms does continue. I'll be back with another update coming up at 10 o'clock.